Welcome back to another episode of the Russian Mountain Podcast. We took a couple weeks off, but we're back, ready to go. We got Jahred here as always. Jahred, how you doing?
What the hell's going on, Diggy? I'm good, brother. How you doing?
Oh, good. I'm very excited for this episode. We got our head coach in high school, Coach Savage. Savage, how you doing?
I am well, and I am happy to be on this thing with the two of you.
My
I'm
hands are
fired up for this
shaking,
one.
coach. Holy shit.
Yeah,
This
when
is
you texted, you were like, whenever I'll hop on. I was like, let's go.
I thought Dixon would send me another text message about being the greatest JV pitching coach in the history of the world,
Yeah,
and they were getting
yeah,
ready to build a statue of him, and
yep.
then he
16 and
asked me
4.
about being on the podcast.
16 and 4 league champs. It was a three-way tie for first, but that's a league champ.
Yeah,
I'll butt in too, coach. This man will send me Snapchats in the morning being like, first round today, gotta be locked in. And I'm just like, all right, dude. Like, first off, I want you to
He's
win. But the fact that you're getting ready for this, like it's your own game day, like you can tell he's just mentally locked.
yeah, we lost. They lost yesterday.
yeah.
Got out of hand real quick.
Be like that.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Oh yeah, when you guys were sophomores, we put up one run against Woodcrest in the first round. I'm like, maybe we got a shot. All of a sudden, I blink my eyes, and freaking, they put up like 3
15.
touchdowns.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was 15. I was me, Brett, and I think Brendo that pitched that game, and it was like we all threw 2 innings, gave up 5.
Oh yeah.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure.
that was a
Not even joking. I think I came in for maybe like a smidge of an inning, and then everyone was like, "Okay, let's just." I think I walked like 3 people. Yeah,
I
it was
think
already
something like that. Yeah.
yeah.
something like that.
That's all right. The next year we only lost to them 2-1. We weren't losing 15-1 anymore.
Oh my gosh, dude! I still remember that next year. I told Prickett, "Hey, we're gonna pitch out on the next pitch because they're gonna squeeze," and they squeezed on that freaking pitch right there.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy how you can remember stuff like that to this day? That was what? How many years ago now? 9.
2016,
Yeah,
So
about 9.
and
yeah, about
they brought in the freaking kid that was going to Vanderbilt. I can't remember his name, but freaking dude started lighting up the backstop.
that
Uh,
was
and it,
that was the guy Greg put in the gap too. That was going to
yep,
Vanderbilt. Greg
yep,
Ellis
Yeah.
gets there and just tomahawks the ball into the gap.
That team
yep.
was crazy. They had like a
Yeah, they're
USC outfielder.
yeah, that's the kid. Yeah, he ended up playing first base for Arizona actually. But yeah, crap. His last name started with a B, and that's the kid that absolutely hosed Garrett Firth at the plate. And I was thinking about that actually. I think today or something like yesterday, I was thinking about like, okay, he's left-handed. If I can get him going this direction, and then he absolutely just threw a missile into the plate, and I'm like, oh dear God.
Yeah. Had to test the arm though.
Yeah.
Before we get into it and get going, I feel like I need to tell you there's like very few people in my life that like no matter how old I get or no matter what stage in my life I'm in, I will always just refer to them as one thing and one thing only. And you fall into that category. You will always just be Coach Savage to me. I
Yeah.
could be 45 years old and I will still call you just Coach Savage. So I hope you realize that. I'm not gonna be calling you Ron. I'm not doing that nonsense. So I'm gonna cut it dry right there.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. I'm pretty sure I still have Dixon's first name spelled wrong on my phone, so it's
Hey,
okay.
that's fine. That's fine. I don't even know my first name sometimes. It's just Dixon. Sometimes
Oh.
people will call me Brennan sometimes, and I gotta like do a double take. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, that's me. Never went by it.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let me try to get some structure to this because we can just keep yammering on about old stories all day. But all right, coach, I want to ask you because we've always talked like kind of ball, but we never really talk coaching to one another. It was always just about like either past stuff that you've done. But I want to know what got you into coaching. What was like the first step in your young life to going into that coaching part, and that kind of just took it over.
Well, let's see. I went to APU in 1995 and
Damn.
blew my knee out. Blew my knee out after the first fall game. And it was one of those things where it's like, and I think I just told somebody this the other day. Like, I thought it was kind of like, life ending type of thing. And being able to be in the dugout at the time, Tony Barbone, who just recently passed away, was the head coach, and Scott Winterburn, who's the head coach of Laverne now, was the pitching coach. Bobby Lee was the infield coach. There's a guy named Scotty Morgan, who's the outfield coach. And just being able to be around them, I mean, I was like 20 at the time, I think it was. And being able to be around them at just such an early age and just see a different side of baseball that I hadn't experienced, because when you're playing, like, you think like, oh, I learned a lot, and you guys did, and you continue to learn, but it's different. Like, it's just it's a different learning experience. And so being around them and seeing the other side of the game of baseball at such an early age and see such a detailed version of it, it just really drew me into wanting to coach. And then I started as an assistant coach at Azusa High School in the spring of 1998. The head coach was Mark Riggs, and he had been a longtime assistant at Citrus Junior College under Skip Clappard, and but he taught at Azusa High School, and the program was super down at the time, and they kind of came to him to take it over. And long story short as I can make it, a friend of a friend got me the job there because he was actually coaching there, and we were from the same hometown. And so that's how I kind of started coaching at Azusa High School. And then again, it was a situation where it just was a ton of knowledge. I mean, he had been around. I mean, Citrus at the time, Skip is the winningest coach in JC California history, and Riggs had been his right hand man for years. And so again, learning just so much about the game of baseball, and it just continued to project me down a path.
Would you say so? That first year at you said Azusa High School, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that first year, you would say that's like your first job? Is it kind of hard, regardless if you're a head coach, assistant coach, if you're just a guy there willing to help out? Is it kind of hard to get the respect, or almost like those guys to kind of buy into what you're saying, being that fresh new head coach? Or is it not really like that, you think?
Well, I wasn't a head coach when I first got that job. I was an assistant coach.
Uh, Same thing, kind of
At,
both.
at the time, I honestly, no, not there. It was a super low income community. Azusa is, for the most part, and the families were just super happy that their kids were eligible. Their kids were playing a sport. They were being coached. There was somebody there day in and day out for them. And at the time, I mean, you guys, when you guys came around, gosh, what was it? You guys came around in 2014. So at the time, I'm trying to do some like quick freaking math right here, like 38, 37, something like that.
Right.
I had two kids, and so you guys and myself had a fairly large gap between us age wise. But I mean, my first year coaching, I was only 4 years older than the seniors were,
Yeah.
realistically speaking. And so, it does help when you're a little bit younger, and you're around the kids, if you know what you're talking about. And that's a lot of it. It's, do you know how to communicate? And fortunately, at that time, I had enough knowledge built up that I could communicate with him, and I didn't look like I had no clue what I was talking about. Um, I guarantee you project me at that age into like you guys and where you guys were at when you came into high school. It might have been a different story, because you guys came in, and Russ and Castillo and those guys that had coached you, they built up a fair amount of knowledge that you guys had, and so at the time, it wasn't difficult at all. Now, learning how to coach is a different story. I've said this time and time again. If I had hired myself, I probably would have fired myself. Um, because I didn't know how to coach. You know what I mean? Like I could pick up a baseball and hit a fungo, and that was half of it. But it's like, I didn't necessarily know how to coach. And during the time when you were at Talkwitz, things were rolling and things were fast, and it was a big time. Like I wouldn't have had time to babysit myself. It'd have been like you figure this out, or I'll go find somebody else that can. It just,
Yeah.
I came into a situation where the head coach was a really great, knowledgeable guy, and they needed help where they could get it. And so I was able to learn as I grew.
Sorry, Dickie. I feel like I'm just
Oh no,
I
you're good. This is your question. You
cool.
got feedback. Yeah.
So real quick, coach, when you're up and coming like that, how much it because you didn't really start coaching in the age of like really good technology and be able to use resources like YouTube and all of that.
No.
So when you're starting off, how do you find out new drills that you kind of or new things that you can use for a team to help them out that you even know works or not? Do you really just take what someone else a higher up above you is telling you and use it as gold, or do you kind of go out and
Yeah, I
study?
mean, yes and no. Like, I mean, I was in a situation where so Citrus and APU were super connected.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I'm assuming still when Dixon was there was still a connection, but at the
Yeah.
time, like Barbone at the time, he had played at Citrus. He'd actually coached at Citrus. You get a ton of Citrus kids, and so it was just this big conglomerate of like the same coaching tree. And so you get these drills from college, and APU was super successful, and then you go and coach. I went and coached for Riggs, and they're running the same drills, and it's successful, and you see the kids building, and at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, you guys know this, like you can only reinvent. You can't really reinvent the wheel. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you can figure out how to do different things in different ways, but you can't really reinvent the wheel. And so you get these set of drills that you get from other people. And Skip, which I had access to, Skip had written like a book, and it was for coaching baseball, that I had access to. And then, I mean, at the time, it's funny, it sounds like it's friggin', centuries ago, but at the time it was like you'd find a book that was done by a successful coach. And so I had a book, and I mean, I actually have a copy it here still, and it was done by Andy Lopez, who coached at Pepperdine, and then he went on to University of Arizona and Florida, actually. And I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a book on how to coach the game of baseball, like high school and settings. And so, whereas now you could go to YouTube or you could go to ABCA conferences. Back then it was books, and even at the American Baseball Coaches Association, you still could get like VHS. Like you could get video VHS back then and order them after the clinic and stuff like that. So, I mean, same thing that you do now, but just in different manners. And back then, like you'd sit around and talk with guys a lot more about different drills as opposed to finding a lot of stuff on your own nowadays.
It's actually funny you bring up the VHS and all that because you just sparked something in my head. Like, holy shit, I had a DVD back when I was like 8 years old, and it was a catching video, and it was all talking about picking the cherries,
Yep.
talking about the framework and all that. And I was like, I basically lived it kind of a little bit too, not to the extent you did, but it's actually funny you bring that up.
Yeah.
So with coaching, right? I know that sometimes the kids, especially at the high school age, they're not all the way there developed in the brain yet, and sometimes they say some stupid stuff. So I know that I have with you, right? I remember Temecula Valley get lit up for 6 runs and then walk off the mound. I'm a sophomore. I'll get in the dugout and go, there goes my ERA, and and you lit me up. Are there any other moments that you have kind of like that where you were just like, All right, like I'm not even biting my tongue. I'm gonna light your ass up right now.
Probably, yeah. I mean, come on, let's know. We all know that I didn't bite my tongue a whole lot. It depends. I mean, the answer is yes. It's. I mean, I didn't bite my tongue a whole lot, but it was in the moment. Like, I think with me, it's kind of like what the moment is called for. Like, I mean, remember the same game, freaking Morales like ripped his pants in half, right? Was the same game, right? Like after the
Yeah.
game, he's like, ah, and just tears his pants apart. You know what I mean? And I'm like, and then again at that time, remember he's a senior and you're a sophomore, and he's already gone through a lot of it. You know what I mean? Like, was he a senior? He was a junior that year,
He was
wasn't
a
he?
year above me.
Okay, so he was a junior that year, but he'd already gone through it a little bit, and
Yeah.
so at the time, like I could have ripped him as bad as he ripped his pants, but it's a different situation, and everything calls for a different response. And so for whatever reason, I mean, I've always been, I guess, blessed or cursed that I'm able to understand kids enough or understand situations enough that I kind of get what it's called for. And like, I can't say that I've always been 100% accurate with that, but it just all depends on the situation. Like at that time, you needed to understand, like, nobody cared. Like, nobody cares about your ERA. Your
Yeah.
ERA is 1 billion right now. Nobody cares, you know? And whereas Brindo, like, I just want to make sure Brindo was okay after that moment because,
Yeah.
you know, at that time, I mean, I don't know how long I've been coaching. I mean, that was 2015, I guess. And,
Yeah.
so I've been coaching like 17 years, and pretty sure it's the first time I've witnessed a kid like just destroy his pants in the dugout. And dude followed it up in rare fashion, I think, after punching out 4 times or something like that at 66er Stadium, and goes into the tunnel and comes back. He's like, I need a new helmet. So Brendo was pretty hard on his gear that year.
Yeah.
Seems like he was hard on himself a lot too. That was
Yeah.
insane. Um, Real quick, I didn't think we would get into it this quick, but since Dixon kind of brought it up, I have to bring up a story. So I've already told it on this podcast before. I'm gonna see if you remember though. I think, was it Shadow Hills? It was one of those desert schools, and it was way too hot, and it was a summer league game, and no one wanted to be there. And I was a senior that year, and all my friends had graduated, and I was just pissed. I didn't want to be there, and I was just whatever. I remember, I think I'm 0 for 2 on the day, 2 Ks already, just abysmal. I go up in there for my third at bat, and you're yelling at me, not yelling, but kind of giving me like the come on, you can do this from third base. And I K again. I think it's my third strikeout. And I remember walking back to the dugout, and I was like, can you just let me hit? Do you have to be in my ear while I'm hitting? And then you basically like, you cut the shit real quick. You like walked over, you're like, hey, none of that shit right now. And we kind of got into it, and everyone was like, all right, relax. And after the game, we had lost. Like I said, it's some summer league game. No one cared. And I walk over to you in the parking lot just because I'm like, I feel like this big. I feel terrible. Like I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. You didn't deserve that. And me thinking like, oh, Coach Savage is going to give me the cold shoulder and all this. You literally just look at me walking up to you and you're like, what, are we friends again? Kind of just like cut all the bullshit right there. And I thought that was always like, kind of spoke to what type of coach you were. Just like, you didn't care. You knew what I needed in the moment was the tough love. So
I've had people like ask me, I guess like, I'm sure the two of you remember this, and I think it kind of like is what you're talking about, but kind of goes a step further. You remember the argument Shepard and I got in before the playoffs?
mm,
Your guys' well, Shepard's junior year is
Was it
before the
about getting the
Maranatha.
start?
Remember the friggin' trainer was like trying to like keep him like just grabbing spare parts of cars and putting them in Shepard to like try to keep him healthy enough for like
Yeah.
one or two at bats. And I I called Shepard over to the hitting cage, and I'm like, hey man, I'm just gonna tell you, like, I don't know if you're gonna play because you're pretty banged up, and I don't know what we're gonna be able to do with you. And I mean, he didn't like it, nor did any of you guys would have liked it at the time. And he goes down and he's bitching at Butler, like you could just tell him, like he's got that squished face that he would get, and his
Yeah.
head is bobbing back and forth, and he's bitching and I just freaking yelled down, hey, you got something to say? Come say it to me. Don't stand down there and bitch to Butler, and he started walking back and we got into it. But, my whole thing was like, you guys needed to understand how to deal with emotions, and you needed to understand how to become like men, and you needed to understand how to express your opinions. And you guys know this. Like, I can be pretty emotional at times, and I can be really loud, and I can change at the drop of a hat. And you guys, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to feel like you could express your opinions when you needed to, and as long as it's always in the right manner. And and I know, like, that day you were butthurt, and the thing is the older you guys get, the more it becomes your guys' program, and the more in right or wrong, and I could go probably find 100 coaches that would tell me that I'm crazy, but the older you guys got in the program, you guys earned a little bit more slack, because I was very hard on you guys,
Mhm.
and it wasn't like I was just hard on you from February to friggin' May. Like, yeah, it was looser structurally, probably in the fall, and the summer we just showed up and played. But it wasn't like I took the pressure off. And I don't know if you guys would agree with this. I feel like this is what I always tried to do. I tried to make the fall, especially during games, and this is kind of like the whole summer thing. I tried to make a lot more stress during the fall and the summer, because it didn't matter. And then when it mattered, and in the spring, I always felt like, okay, if I just took a step back and I didn't say a whole lot to you guys, and I wasn't, as you put it, in your ear, then you're not going to feel as much stress. And so I would try to be probably a little bit more outwardly difficult to deal with in the fall and the summer, because that would allow you guys to just feel a little bit less pressure in the spring, because the spring had its own pressure.
Yeah.
We were talking with high school. You and I both know, like, I mean, short of a couple teams that we can all throw the names out there, that we were just gonna roll, except when Dixon decides to not go to sleep the night before the game and drink a couple Polar Pops. For the most part, we were just gonna roll. But if it was close in competition, like, we were gonna get their best game,
Yeah.
and they could literally have lost their last 6 games, and there were teams that were gonna figure out how to make it a one-run game against us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that pressure was there to begin with. I mean, you guys, I mean, I'm telling you, like, I remember 2017, Caleb Farmer's like, at the end of the year, like, we're ranked number one. Like,
Mhm.
I would try to hide that stuff from you, because all it was just additional pressure on you guys. And so I tried to make sure that I made the fall and the summer as difficult as possible. And truthfully speaking, like, I wanted that out of you. Like, I wanted you to get to a place where you could feel like you could say to me, like, can you just stop? Because if you're going to continue to, we're, if you're going to continue to let yourself get bullied and bullied and bullied and bullied, like, I mean, you think about the two of you and the freaking job you guys did in the playoff, in the championship. Like, you guys couldn't do that if at some point you decided to just not be bullied anymore. And I know bully has this huge, bad, horrible connotation nowadays, but it's like, I was gonna push your guys' buttons until you guys decided, like, okay, I'm gonna push back a little bit,
Yeah.
and you look at the you guys as a sophomore and a freshman, and compare you guys to the junior and the senior, like, night and day. And there's no way the two of you are capable. If you took your mentalities as freshmen and sophomores and put them even with your ability as seniors and juniors, we're not winning that game.
Hell no.
And part of the whole thing was, from my standpoint, is I've got to put you guys in a place where you feel like you're confident to do this on your own. And part of it was just me pushing buttons half the time.
Hmm. I think freshman me, if I was a freshman in that championship situation that we were in, I think not only would my mindset have been completely different, I think like as a freshman, I would have been looking up in the stands. I would have been waving to my mom. Like I feel like you said, it was perfect it was perfect the year we got there because it was like everyone was on their like final step. I was a junior, Dickie and all of them were seniors, so it was like it was almost fitting.
Right.
Yep.
God, that's actually so perfect you said that. Yeah, as a freshman, I would have been shitting myself.
Oh, yeah.
I would have been done. Oh my God.
Speaking of that CIF run, were there any times? Because like looking back on it, I feel like in the moment I was fully confident most of the time. But then looking back on it, it was like, dude, there was a few moments where that kind of almost got away from us. Were there any moments where you were like, dude, it's just the same as last year. Like we're not gonna win this shit. What was that moment like?
Okay, so the Burroughs game, I remember at one point standing there going, "Oh my gosh, dude, we're gonna be ranked number one and we're gonna lose at home at some point." It was like the fourth or fifth inning. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's like it's 0-0 or something like that, you know? And Burroughs wasn't bad, but then again, like, like I said, it's pressure. All of a
Yeah.
sudden you're the number one seed. I seriously, like I tell you, Caleb Farmer's like, we're number one. Like,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden there's this new pressure. Like, we're the number one seed. What does that mean? Well, you guys know that in one and done, it really doesn't mean a whole lot. But to
Mm-hmm.
kids, you're like, oh my gosh, we're ranked number one and we're at
Right.
home, and and now we're doing the national anthem, and now the hair has dyed, and all of a sudden there's this new thing, there's this new pressure. And so I remember standing there like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be the number one seed and we're gonna freaking lose at home. And then Dixon punched a kid out, and I can't remember who the umpire was, but the umpire had a really slow strike call. Like, he would step back, and then he would turn and stick his finger out and call strike. Well,
Yeah.
freaking the kid at first base thought it was ball four and freaking started, and not even running, like freaking walking.
Uh-huh.
And Kyle throws the ball back to Brennan, and I'm like, and I saw the kid in the middle, and I'm like, 1-1-1-1-1, and we got out of that inning. And then I don't know, the score was like 3-0, 2-0, and so then we went to Segerstrom. We played Segerstrom, and so I had done a great deal of scouting on Segerstrom. And again, I don't know what you guys knew or know or what, but I'll be straight up, because you guys will both laugh. I'll be straight up honest with you about exactly how it happened. I literally went on Game Changer and I created an account so I could get like a free 7-day subscription or whatever it was, and downloaded every Segerstrom game off of Game Changer. And what I found was their number 9 hitter was a freshman, but he had hit leadoff for them, like their whole freaking run. And then at some point, he became a freshman, and they moved him down to number 9 spot. So we didn't treat him as a number 9 hitter. We treated him like as another leadoff hitter,
Yeah.
which I'm gonna be honest, like, we would have friggin' just probably, cocked him a couple fastballs at least to start off, and he probably would have put it in an alley somewhere. But
Yeah.
um, again, they hit that, I don't know, 2-run bomb against off Shep. Segerstrom was really good, and then there was the two moments in that game was when I can't remember who threw the ball to Garrett at second base. I don't know if it was a pitcher. I don't know if it was coming from third base, but it pulled Garrett off the bag. And I'm like in slow motion watching this freaking happen. but Garrett has the whereas to just reach down and tag the kid as opposed to try to turn the double play.
Yeah.
And then and this shout out to Steve Madrill. Then there was Dixon picking off like his only kid of the year. That we brought you in that big moment, and they had their big guy at the plate and their fast guy on first base, and friggin' you did the little come set and chicken wing that we'd friggin' worked on for like 3 years from Madrid that I got from Madrid that we never used, and you
Yeah.
picked off like your only guy of the year,
Yeah.
and Norman Power had a huge day, and I remember telling Norman, like, Norman, wherever they got their scouting report from, the team that gave them the scouting report thought you sucked.
Yeah.
Because remember, Norm hit second,
Yeah.
and he was pitched like everybody got fastballs, sliders. Here comes the kitchen sink. And then all of a sudden, here comes Norm, fastballs, fastballs, and he's just like bing, bang, bang, you know? And 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 so there was that moment, and then I mean every game had it. You've got the freaking quarterfinals where you know Dixon runs like to the first base dugout and then throws the guy out at third base, which he managed to freaking do in both games.
The
You
first
know,
game they have a fence, Clayton hits a
oh
leadoff
yeah,
home run.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. They don't have a fence. They're gonna just build one, and Clayton hits his only home run of his high school career on the first
Yeah.
pitch of the game.
It was like
You
one of those
know,
Home Depot orange fences.
right? And then you got even in the Dallas game where you gave up that friggin' ball to the Gordado kid, and off the bat, everybody's just like, "Oh!" and the sucker just dies at the fence.
Yeah.
And then you have the,
Oh, I thought I
I
gave up a tank. I thought
oh
I gave
yeah,
up a moon
I
ball.
thought that was gonna friggin' hit Santa Monica.
And
I
then
was
Norman's
already
And
watching
diving catch.
us.
right, you got Norman Powers diving catch, and then you talk about it. Dixon came in with runners at first and second and no outs, and they had the sack bunt
Shout out that
and
umpire.
freaking clouded us and an out call, and it's a totally different game. So,
Shout out the
I mean,
umpire.
the crazy thing was in every single game. I mean, let's be honest. I think every game was like 1 or 2 runs,
Yeah.
right? But it wasn't really like until that last moment, that last, seventh inning of the championship game, like there was a lot bigger moments where I'm like, here we go. Like when Dixon came in at Nogales, here we go. When the ball pulled Garrett off the bag, here we go. When, things got dicey. Remember I was talking about the Wilson game before the Wilson game. I'm like, we've turned 3 double plays all year. Stop trying to turn a double play. And then friggin', Farmer and Garrett turned like the biggest double play in like the history of Talkwas High School. When they looked like things were going to get dicey there. And so there were huge moments, and it's just that year the ball bounced our way every time.
And it's so fitting too because I feel like Talkwitz has a history of just coming up like short. Not
Oh yeah,
talent was never an issue. It wasn't the coaching, it wasn't the players, it wasn't like the school. It was like I said, it was never the talent. It was just we always came up on the wrong side of that bad bounce. But
I feel like we missed the biggest one, dude, when that seventh inning of the finals, when I walk the bases loaded and then hit my pitch limit, give the ball to Butler with 1 out, and then him being able to get out of that and then go the next inning and go scoreless. That's huge.
right. And it was. I'm walking inside because it was getting dark outside.
okay,
Not here. We're sunny and blue.
Oh, I know. But no, yeah, that was the whole part of a lot of it was just all the time, like I remember, gosh, what was it? There was a time I want to say it was like 2011. We played Cathedral, and we get friggin' called out, or not called out. We pretty much turn a double play, um, going to the plate, and they call our catcher Miller at the time off the plate. You know, there's a couple times we had to play like extra inning games, and back then, before you guys, there was, we know this, there wasn't the pitch count per se.
Yeah.
And so you didn't necessarily have a staff. And we got caught in a couple games where we had to go extra innings, and we had to like kind of like, expand a lot of our guys to get to where we needed to get to, and so it was we'd always see somebody's number one. We would always see somebody's, we'd always get extra innings. We always lost a coin flip. And I mean, we lost, let's be honest. And in what world are you the number one seed playing on a neutral site and you're the away team? Like,
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
we lost a lot of coin flips. The ball didn't go our way. It was what it was. But I mean, that year, man, like every single freaking break that we needed, like we got. Like, remember, you got the kid at Segerstrom. I can't remember the kid's name, but he was going to Long Beach. He was warming up in the bullpen. Gordado kid warming up in the bullpen.
Was he the one
You
going to
know,
Arizona?
he was going to yeah, he went to Arizona, and I feel like Gordado might have been wrong, but it was something like that.
Yeah.
But same thing, and they just never got the lead. They never tied the game, and those guys never came in.
And that's what just like didn't make sense to me, I think, because they were like, oh, we're saving him for next round. But we were the one seed. So, like, theoretically, if we're the one seed, how are you saving your best guy for the
Well,
one?
keep in mind, it's not necessarily a saving. Okay, so let's put it this way. There's two philosophies. One philosophy is you win the game in front of you. Another philosophy is how are we going to structure this? Like, literally, like Prickett and I sat down, and there was two rules that we had to worry about. We had to worry about pitch count. Actually, it's three: pitch count, days of rest, and max innings pitched. And so we literally built a pitching schedule around how can Dixon throw every last possible pitch in existence, and where do we need Butler? Where do we need Shepard? How are we going to do this? But the whole thing was cogged around Dixon maxing out at that time. And keep in mind, you only maxed out one time that whole year, and that was Himmett. Okay,
And that
that
was my
was
worst outing.
yeah, and that was when Clayton came in and got a save.
Yeah.
And that was the only time you maxed out all year long. And part of the issue is we can't max you guys out because we don't know what the playoffs are going to bring, and we have to max you out at that point. And so you remember, I believe I'm like 99% sure it was the Segerstrom game. Um, Shepard started, you came in, and basically you were told Prickett goes out to visit you, and Prickett basically tells you, look, this is your last batter. You can't throw more than like X amount of pitches or something like that.
Yeah.
And I remember like you threw your last pitch, dude, it might have been like a 2-1 count. And you literally throw the pitch, grab the ball, and you're already walking off the mound. And Butler's like already walking on the field because
Yeah.
and I think you came in for 1 out and it was a fly ball to Zach Schwartz, which I swear to God to this
Forgot
day,
about that.
I thought he
Yeah.
was going to drop because he did that little glove flip and and but it literally, and so that's how we had to structure it. So and then I don't know, like I can't remember what day of the week the first round was on. Um, but we structured it so you could do this and then come out of the bullpen and da 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 da. Whereas I don't know what that guy did on that Friday. And if you're confident in your number two's got to pitch at some point anyway. And so
Yeah.
they're going to take that guy, put him there to win their first game, and then they're going to get there. Also, a lot of depends. I mean, they're pretty confident in their scouting report. I can guarantee you that. Like, I guarantee you, they shouldn't have been, I guess, other than Norman Power, they were pretty confident in their scouting report. And so it was a situation. And the other thing is they might have only had two guys.
Yeah.
If they got two guys, they've got to deploy them very mindfully to make sure that there's no problems.
Yeah. The cool thing about Segerstrom, I remember there was two guys. One of them was Adrian. something, and one I forgot the other guy's name, but they followed us all like on Instagram after we beat them.
Yeah.
And then like every game that we played, they would like DM us and be like, or
Oh
like
yeah.
before the game, they were like, "Hey, good luck today," and then we would win, and they'd be like, "Hell yeah, dude! Like keep go win it all." And I was like, "I've never met you guys. Like this is awesome."
Oh yeah. And that Adrian,
It's
I
cool.
believe that was that friggin' their big guy that you punched out like when you came
Yeah,
in out of the bullpen. But literally, like people that year, people the next year, they used to ask me like, "Who's the best team you played?" Without even like not a heartbeat, not a blink, not a Segerstrom.
Diggerstrom.
Like honestly, my belief was whoever won that game would have won the title. Minus, I mean, Grace Brethren might have beat him. Let's be honest, it's not like we,
Yeah,
took him to the woodshed. But friggin' A, dude, they were good. They were the best team we played that year.
yeah, and we just what we won on like a walk off error. There was the play at the plate where they
Dude, who
overthrew the
was
catcher.
was it? You Dixon that reminded me of that or something
Mhm.
like that. It was
I think it was when we
yeah.
were
They
at
like
Stadium.
threw it like halfway up the fence. Like I had to go
Yeah,
back and look at it. Like I forgot all about that.
yeah. When it was like bases loaded, one out, ground
Yeah,
ball to third base. They threw it home instead of trying to turn the double play, and they overthrew the catcher.
yeah,
That one felt yucky. Even after
Yeah,
we're celebrating, throwing water on people, and then we were like, I feel bad for that guy. Like that's kind
yeah.
of you
yeah.
never want another guy. You don't want him just to like chuck one up halfway up the
Right.
stands. That's just the way it worked out.
Yeah.
Do you think that winning the title kind of allowed you to go into your next chapter, like move into Florida and coaching over there? Do you think that like if we lost that, you kind of would have still been at Talk was like, no, I'm bringing this first one home for the boys?
I don't. Okay, so God's honest truth, I don't know because one of the biggest reasons we moved honestly had to do with COVID and how things were being run in the state of California. Like, honestly, not trying to get political, but a lot of it
Yeah,
had to do with that. I guarantee you, it made it easier because along the way, I had opportunities a couple times to take other jobs that would have been considered bigger jobs than Talkwitz. But one of the big problems was this. It's like, you know, I and you guys know, like I'm not a big I created this or I did this guy, but I created Talkwitz High School baseball. And I did it with the help of,
Z.
Sims and Tim Moravik, who was assistant coach, and Steve Silverman and Zambrano and all these guys, but it was created through my friggin' hard work and love and labor and I never felt that it was complete. Like I never felt like I could leave the place because I always felt something was missing. And literally, like I had somebody called about a job, and I was talking to a friend of mine who had coached at Los Osos High School when they first opened, and his name's Bobby Sheridan. And I was talking to him about it, and literally, like, I'm pulling out of the parking lot, and he goes, "Okay, let me ask you one question. Have you completed everything that you think you can complete at Tacos High School?" And literally, I'm going on Costin, and I'm driving towards Florida Avenue, so I'm driving past the baseball field. I don't know what year this was. I feel like it might have been like it probably was. I'm like 99% sure it's pre you guys. And, like a lot of times, guys would stay and they'd play catch or they'd hit in the K's or this, that, or the other. And I'm looking down at the field and I'm seeing this culture that we created of kids staying after and working and doing this and that. And I literally am like, no. So would I have still moved? Probably. Would it have made it that much more difficult? It would have, because it's like, there were so many. Let's say that we had lost. Pick a game, doesn't necessarily matter. Probably anything later than Segerstrom, and it would have been about another missed opportunity. And it would have just been about another missed opportunity, and it would have bothered me, and it made it that much easier to make the move, because what else were we going to do? Because
Yeah,
that's the time also, like I remember after, so that following year, I went to UCR breakfast. Everybody that won league and any championships go to this breakfast at UCR, and I was at it, and I got the award for winning the CIF title the year before. And Rob Wygod, who was the commissioner at the time, was like, "Hey, make another run," and I'm like, Okay, yeah, cool. You put us in Division Two. We'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll have at it. Yeah. And so at that time, I mean, let's be honest, like it made it that much more friggin' difficult. Like, Butler remembers when we went to what was it? Was it Laguna Hills? Is that
It was Laguna Beach High School.
Laguna Beach? That's right. Tacos just
They
played
had
Laguna
G
Hills.
wagons in the parking
Yeah.
lot. They had
Right.
G wagons. It was.
You know what I mean? And that was like, I mean, we friggin' won the first round on like a hit and a half, and friggin' Hernandez racing home on a K3, and their friggin' head coach, their head coach tried. I mean, he passed away. God rest his soul, but he tried to pull a fast one and not throw their number one guy against us and claim that he did something stupid, but we'd already been told by a source that he wasn't going to throw. And I mean, holy crap. Like, sack bunt, Shep hits this flared hit, Hernandez races home. Prickett and I are in the dugout like, dear God, Butler, please get this guy out, because if you don't get this guy out, Koba is not getting the next guy out. And Butler literally, his last pitch goes ground ball to Zach Schwartz, and Zach Schwartz throws him out, but all of a sudden you take a school like Tockwitz, and even now, like Solar and you, Dixon, you guys are doing a hell of a job. But when you all of a sudden have to go and play these dudes that are in Division II, and you've got 5 D1 commits, and it's a different world, and you guys know that. And so
Yep.
it made it completed, I guess, the book that was Tockwitz, and it made it that much easier to move. So,
How good was that leadoff hitter for Laguna? Didn't he go like 4 for 4 off me with like 2 doubles? He
oh
was like
yeah,
going to CLA or something. I was like,
oh
this
yeah.
dude is cruise. This guy's legit.
Like at one point, it's almost like, let's just intentionally walk him with nobody on just to hold him to a single. I mean, he was really, really good.
And it was crazy because Prickett mainly, there was a tall, lanky lefty that was really good. Forgot what college he was going to, but that was the one me and Prickett were like game planning for. Like, this
Yeah.
is the guy, you can't let him hit one up on the hills on you. And I was like, okay, I got it.
Oh
Little
yeah.
did I, the biggest issue was going to be that leadoff hitter, Dickey. I could not get this guy out. I could throw whatever I wanted to him. He would slap it in the outfield, pull it down the
Oh yeah.
line.
Well,
That
I
was
mean,
a
you even go back. You go back to the Grace Brethren game, and their friggin' pitcher. Man, I cannot remember what that kid's name is now. He
I can
actually,
never remember the pitcher.
He was
huh?
so good, though. He
I
was.
remember Gunnar Hellstrom, but I can
Right.
never remember the pitcher's name.
I can't remember the pitch. The guy actually went on to be the freshman WAC player of the year, by the way,
Was
at
he at St.
Grand Canyon.
Mary's?
No,
Oh,
Grand
Grand
Canyon.
Canyon.
And the dude was like, what? The guy was like 3 for 3 that game. But Gunnar
Yeah.
Holstrom was 0 for 3. And I remember one time during the game saying to Prickett, like, hey dude, you realize this guy's 3 for 3. And Prickett's like, hey man, you told me that Gunnar Holstrom cannot hurt us. Has he hurt us? I go, okay. No, he hasn't. All right, let's continue. But
Yeah.
I mean, somebody's gonna have a day. Somebody's gonna have an opportunity. Again, we're talking about Norman Power and Segerstrom. Norman Power had a day. His day was just so big that it helped when other kids had a good enough day. But
Wasn't Gunnar Hellstrom the final strikeout?
he was, yes, he
I couldn't
was.
tell.
He friggin' tried to hit a home run on a pitch at his eyes.
Yep. And he went to Nebraska. I think I read that he was coaching there last time I checked. He's still over there, I
I
think.
have not checked on him. Like I occasionally I would go, I would check on him. I would check on good old Kai Tinker. Um, Dixon,
Who's
are you
that?
serious? Who's
Which one
Kai
was that?
Tinker? Kai Tinker is Jahred Butler's BFF, like forever. Butler sends this guy Christmas cards every year. He's the kid that jumped out of the way of 2 pitches that would have won them a
Oh,
CIF championship,
oh,
and then
yeah.
swung at the pitch at
What's
his
his Venmo?
eyes. Yeah,
What's his
Kai
Venmo?
Tinker.
I, I got you, coach.
Oh,
I
I
knew what you were.
guarantee. Dixon was still cussing out the umpire in right field, thinking he
I
actually
was.
threw a strike, even
I
though the frickin'
was.
thing was like 7 inches off the
Yeah.
plate.
Hey, hey.
When
For
I
whatever.
got, hey, when I got the DVD of that game, I don't know, or maybe I went back and watched. I can't remember. First thing I went back to do was watch that pitch, and I immediately texted Dixon, "Hey, that was a ball."
Yeah, well, that was. I feel like I knew it was a ball, but I feel like I watched I think it was like Garrett or Zach strike out looking the inning before,
Yeah.
kind of like on the same pitch. So I was like, like I could
Yeah.
flirt with that outside part of the zone a little bit. And then I was like, well, if you're gonna call it for them, why aren't you calling it for us?
Yeah.
So it was a ball. Yeah,
And then I tried to put on my biggest like fake like I got you, Dixon. Don't worry about it.
yeah.
Me shitting bricks, like probably just like all right, well, like
I think the funniest part
Hey,
about
your
that game.
first ball in the bullpen hit the backstop at UCR. Like, I'm standing there, this ball goes shooting past me. And I'm like, where's this ball come from? And I look down, here's Butler like this.
I literally was like,
His hat's on his head and his hands are up in the air. Dude
I remember
chucked
hearing
it
from our
all the way to the
dads.
backstop from the bullpen.
yeah,
My dad was like in the stands, like he wasn't even watching. Like it was like him and Russ, and then when it got like the intense moments, my dad like went underneath the bleachers and he was like, "I can't watch." And like Russ was like laughing at him and like
Oh, yeah.
making jokes or whatever. And then as soon as Jahred came in the game, they switched places.
Oh, yeah.
oh my gosh. Yeah, unfortunately, if Kai Tinker ever sees this or like listens to this, I apologize. But also, like, let me buy you a beer, bud. Like, I love
Yeah,
you.
I'll
But
tag him in
yeah,
it.
that's insane. Don't you ever? No,
That's the
one thing we're
episode
not
name.
doing here. We're not disrespecting.
Yeah, episode 20 something. Thank you, Kai
Dude,
Tinker.
I'm telling you, I think Jared asked me this at like I think farmers I think Jared asked me this at farmers like going away party or graduation party. Like, what would you have done? And I said, I would have said, go stand at home plate and do not swing that bat. Because again, like, you talk about pressure, like, at the time, Butler's a sophomore, and you guys played in a lot of big tournaments, and Butler's playing for the Arsenal at the time and played in a lot of big stuff and did a lot of things. But it's just a different level of pressure. And all of a sudden, you're friggin' 16 years old on the mound with 300 people all going nuts, bases are loaded, and you've got to all of a sudden throw a strike, and all of a sudden you got to throw a strike. And it didn't matter. Like, at that point, doesn't matter if you're a Fullerton commit. It doesn't matter what you are. You got to stand on that rubber and you got to throw the ball across the plate 3 times under pressure you have never experienced. Nor, I mean, short of what telling you guys, look, you're gonna run friggin' 20 miles in 100-degree heat if you can't throw 3 strikes on the mound. Like, how do you create that pressure?
Yeah,
And you look at it like, and you look at it from Tinker's situation. He had as much pressure as you did, and I mean, you guys were both trying to figure out like how to melt under the pressure, and you did enough, and you did more than he did, and that's all we can ask for, and you figured it out.
I like to think back on that moment and really think like roles reversed. I'm hitting and someone else is pitching to me. I think like I truly think I probably would have done the same thing. I want to be the hero so bad that it takes over. Like there's 2 types of people in that situation, like you said. Ones that are gonna not want to mess up so they don't swing,
Right.
and people are gonna want to do too much so they
Oh, yeah.
over.
Yeah.
So it's like, thank God I got the right person in that moment. Thank God I didn't get the guy that's just like, I'm not doing anything because it would have been
Oh, yeah.
over.
Oh, yeah. If he had just not swung his bat, like, it's a totally different situation. If he had
Yeah.
not jumped out of the way of 2 pitches, you know, I mean, you guys don't know this. Like, I've never said this, but I want to say, like, do you remember, like, I always kept my coaching helmet on because I hated the friggin' changeover. I still do this to this day. But literally, I think it's when you went ball 2. I walked over to the cubby. I set my chart down. I took my helmet off. I put it down. I put my hat on. And all I could think of is this is as close as I'm ever going to get. And I remember the game before Arrowhead. I can't remember if it was Arrowhead Christian that won or the other team, but it was like they got boat raced. It was like 15 runs. And I remember like down the right field line, like, dear Lord Jesus, if we lose this game, please help it not be by 15 runs.
Yeah.
And then I'm standing there in a bases loaded situation with a 2-1 count thinking, I'd have rather gotten beat by 15 runs than been this close. And then you go like cement mixer slider that he takes. Then he jumps out of friggin' ball or hit by pitch to go full count. Then you did honestly, like, I thought it was friggin' smart. I'm almost glad the guy didn't take off for home plate, because then we'd have to play catch and under a huge situation. But you lifted your leg and went to third. You know,
Isn't
just
it?
to
I
see what the.
remember that too. I
Oh,
was like, yo, wouldn't it be goated if I don't throw this ball and I pick the guy off? So I was
right.
like, screw it. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
Throws into
Like,
the fucking stands.
right. I mean, honestly, like when he did that, I'm like, oh, please don't throw this ball.
Just a little short hop gets back. He's
Right.
like, oh no.
Hey, wait. Speaking of that, I pull a Caleb Farmer during Nogales and just throw the ball in the left field. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
We talked
But,
about it on the
and you know,
farmer
it's
one, yeah.
funny. It's like, I don't think I've ever told Farmer this or anything, but I've always like felt some sort of blame on that, because remember, that's when you guys were sophomores, and we got to a point where it's like the game was just not, you guys weren't fast enough for the game, and you guys just didn't understand it. And we started to go to that workout where we would do outs and look for extra plays, and you know, we did that religiously. Dude, I guarantee you, had we never done that, Farmer would have never freaking pump faked and turned around and tried to hit the 60 freeway, you know, because it was part of the whole thing of what we were doing was looking for that extra play, and he was trying to make a play. Like that
Mhm.
ball ended up in the middle of nowhere. He's trying to make a play.
You would
Yeah.
have thought that man slapped my family and killed my dog in the dugout. He was like, I'm so sorry, dude. That's on me. That'll never happen again. I'm like, brother, you're good. We have 4 innings left, or like
Right.
3 innings left. Like, we're
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he was so apologetic. I love that man. He was so. I'm sorry, brother. I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, I mean, you're acting like I would have done anything different in that situation.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh. All right, now let's cut all the bullshit. Why are you a San Francisco Giants fan? Just for everyone that's listening here. I mean, do you just not care about your like wellness and your like mental health? Like, what's going on here?
Okay, Bubble Boy World Series guy.
Oh, Bubble boy, what
Ah.
happened last year when the Yankees, the big dogs, were supposed to come in? We handled that 5 games. Where have the Giants been?
Okay, so let's start here. Let's start here. Since 2010, pretty much my choice of World Series winners has been the Dodgers since 2010. So if you want to start talking about mental wellness and what hasn't happened, let's talk about how much money the Dodgers have spent to be perennial NL champions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
No, like honestly, to answer your question, I was born and raised in Central California. So it was honestly, it was Giants country, and my mom actually, when she was growing up, my mom, her best friend's, I think it was uncle was the manager of the Giants, and my dad actually worked security. My dad actually worked security in Candlestick Park, and so we were just always Giants fans.
Nice.
So
You know what's really starting to piss me off, Coach, and you probably don't even get it that much just because you're in Florida. You probably hear more just about like other teams over here in California now. And I don't know if you're picking up on this. The Padres all of a sudden think that like the
oh, I know.
Dodgers and the Padres are a
No.
rivalry.
Nope.
Me and Dixon both will be like, first off, no, that's not how it works. Do you realize how much pain for a Dodger fan the Giants have put us through? And then
Oh,
the
I know.
Padres are just going to come in here and act like they've done anything
I
for
used
the
to see
past 30.
Bumgarner in my sleep.
But I mean, come on, that's like West Valley thinking they were rivals with us. It's no
That's a good point.
different. I mean, it's no different. It's you know, it's. I really feel like the last rivalry that we really had to talk with was with Emmett. You
Yeah.
know, before that we got split up, because I mean, if you go back and look, you know, you go back and look, and I don't know how much Solar's kept up on this, but I know he's done some. But I had historical records, and I mean, you go back and look at historical records in our league, and it's not even competitively close. Um, give me 1 second.
Go for it.
Um, Hemet was the closest. And those games were freaking amazing. You know, even that last game we played against Hemet the year I left and we lost by 1 run, like, dude, it was a great game. You
Yeah.
know, and they were always great games. But I mean, come on. I mean, your teams had to make us the rival to give their kids a reason to play, and it's no different. The Potters went out and spent a bunch of money. They have to give they have to give their fans, and every story has to have a bad guy. And so they, the Giants and the Dodgers, the true rivalry. San Diego
Yeah.
Padres is like, that third kid that hangs around everybody else and wants to be cool.
Thank you. You can consider it like a little scuffle, like between
Right.
your little brother. But the rivalry that goes back, dating back to the 50s, that
Right.
like the rivalry my grandparents and my parents have like watched through. No, that's
Well,
Giants.
and here's the thing: the reason they're in California is they both agreed to come from New York. Like
Yeah.
it was agreed upon. Like
Yeah.
one was not going to move without the other. Like, and it's different. Like friggin', and it irritates me sometimes. But it goes back to the Dodgers signed a guy years ago, and he was a pitcher, and he'd come from the Pirates, and I can't remember what his name was. I remember he had a shaved head. But you look at friggin' Giants' bonehead move of hiring Farhan Ziti and what's the friggin' moron Gabe Kapler. You know what I mean? Like that's what bothers me more than anything is like, why? And I get it, Dodgers and their analytics and this and that and blah 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 blah. But I think historically and culturally, it's a different program. It go back to what. Remember, I told you guys all along. Like, I understand you guys want to bang, and I understand you want to put up 10 runs and 12 runs and this and that and the other. But there is something to be said when you go to somebody's field and you friggin' beat them by 1 run. And you remember the Monrovia game in 2016. We scored 1 run. 1 run. I swear to God, I thought Caleb Farmer was not going to score the run and was actually going to get thrown out of the game when he went into home
Yeah.
plate. But we scored 1 run and we beat them on their own field. And
That
that
was
was
a crazy one.
right. That was our culture. Is all we need is a run. That's all we need is a run. We're going to scratch out 2. We're going to scratch out 3 at times, but we're going to pitch. We're going to play defense. And then there was times when we put up a bunch of runs when we needed to. Like, let's be honest, Searson game. Go back to the Sierra Vista game in 2016. If 1 run wouldn't have won that one, I mean,
Yeah,
it would because the dumbasses went and took BP in the batting cage before the game. But it wouldn't have. 1 run wasn't going to win that game. It was like 11-10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so the culture just wasn't like you look at the Giants and what they're doing now. They brought back that culture of how the Giants are run. The Dodgers, they do what they do, and they run their analytics game, and you know, and honestly, like my opinion, and this is not like I hate the Dodgers. It's good for 162 games, but analytics and all this mismatching is not going to always win in the playoffs. Like, and I legitimately, since like 2010, every year,
Yeah.
who's going to win the World Series? The Dodgers. Who's the Dodgers' biggest challenge? The Dodgers themselves.
yeah.
Yep.
You know,
I'll
Fair
tell you,
assessment.
if you're a Giants fan, having Buster Posey as your head of baseball operations back in San Fran has to be exciting because you want
super
to.
excited.
Oh, that guy literally. When I think of the Giants, I think of Buster Posey. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. That's
Yeah.
how.
And one of my favorite pitchers of all time, Tim
Free,
Lincecum.
Oh yeah,
free.
Tim
Tim
Lincecum.
Lincecum.
It's because you guys are both like 99 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah. I love Tim Lincecum.
That Tim Lincecum literally was like, maybe you don't have to look good throwing a baseball to be good throwing a baseball
Oh
because
yeah,
that dude
100%.
disgusting.
How's Cole doing?
Cole's good.
I want to kind of do some real quick. Oh, did I just cut you off, Coach?
A little
No,
bit.
Shit.
Cole's doing well. He finished up at Enterprise, which is a junior college, and then he's going to Erskine in South Carolina.
Okay.
So he still bunt better than Butler.
Oh, honestly, what a question to interrupt you on. How's your son? It's like, you know what? Let's get into another.
Still talks about when he was like 10 and got a hit off of Dixon.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a man of the people. I gotta, trying to boost everyone's. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I didn't even think. I threw live to the JV team like halfway through the season because I was like, they want to see live at bats, but none of these guys can just like consistently throw strikes to where this is like actually gonna get working.
Right.
So I was like, all right, let me just hop on the mound. And then I threw like a 0-1 changeup, just hung it down the middle, and a kid hit a single and like into left field. He's like, "Let's go, let's go!"
Oh yeah,
And I'm like,
100%.
"Oh shit!"
Yeah.
What were you saying, Jahred?
I wanted to play this or that with, with Savage.
Get it going.
All right. Real quick,
Can you hear me?
of
Yeah.
course.
Okay, because it looks like my screen froze. Okay.
No, as long as we're able to hear you, you're all good. Can
Okay.
you hear us?
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, it's not even a long ass list. I just want to like get your perspective on what kind of where your brain lies with either preference in baseball or just certain things. So this or that. Do you prefer pinstripes or like the long pants look?
You're talking about knickers?
Like
Because
for
you can
Yeah,
have
pinstripes?
long
knee-high.
pants and pinstripes.
Long pants and knee highs.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're
what?
right. More of the pinstripe with the pants
Look,
pulled up, or just
I'm not a this or that on them because, like I told you, Jahred, when you wanted to friggin' wear the high knees, I'm like, look, man, you look like a fat ass. You got to stop doing the high knee thing. Like,
it made me feel more comfortable. And first off,
I'm
I didn't
not
care.
saying it did or doesn't, but it made you look like a freaking coke.
Okay, there's plenty. I'm sorry, I didn't have a professional hemmer. This isn't the major leagues where they
It
can crack
doesn't matter.
my
It's
body.
literally the high knees. It's a body thing.
No, it's not. You
It
look at
is
these.
too.
They have it hemmed to their body. I'm not going to let you get away with that.
It is
Absolutely.
100% accurate. The bigger body you have when you use pinstripes, not pinstripes, when you use the knickers, it makes you look freaking square.
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I wasn't. You know what, Coach? I don't even want to play this or that anymore. No, I'm just. So
But
you're obviously the long pants type.
as soon as you went to the long pants, it made you look more freaking athletic and
Who
made
gives a shit how I look? Do I pitch better with long pants or pants
dude,
pulled up?
it's not a
That's a
look
mental
thing.
thing.
It's keep in mind when I said this to you, this is during the recruiting process. It has to do with how it's the same thing. If
The
Dixon
eye
walked
test.
out there in long pants and a jersey too big, Dixon looks like he never eats at home. And he looks like his parents don't feed him, and he
Yeah.
friggin' looks like like he has no muscle. I mean, he didn't, but
I didn't. Yeah, they would have
it
been
make him
correct
look
in
even
assuming.
worse. So it's how you project yourself.
Okay, so you would project yourself in long pants as this or that is what I'm hearing.
Me personally, oh hell yeah, I'm never gonna friggin' wear knickers. Yeah, I would look like freaking
George
somebody that
Barnes.
ate Babe Ruth.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this or that. 345 batting average with 25 home runs on the year, or 295 batting average with 40 home runs on the year.
You're never gonna want to play this game again. It depends on it depends on the situation.
What situation?
Okay.
I'm giving you
Can I give
everything.
can I give you an example? Can I give you an
Okay,
example? Do you remember the Sierra Canyon game your senior year?
of course.
Okay. Do you remember anything about Kobayashi's game?
Didn't he hit like a triple, a double, and like didn't he go crazy?
Okay. Only when there was nobody on base.
Ah.
That dude, okay, I kid you not, that dude's batting average. Let's say Kobe hit 320 his senior year, right? He hit like 450 with nobody on and like 250 with runners on base. So I get what you're saying. Like, I mean, honestly, what am I going to take? Like, I mean, I'm not. I will take a home run any day. And 295 was a bunch of bombs. Works. 340 again. It depends. Like, if it's you hitting 340 and a bunch of singles, that's not too helpful at times because
It's
it's going to
true.
take a few hits getting around a base.
It's
Yeah.
true.
As a player, I would take 295 with 40 bombs. As a coach, it's super dependent on literally who's doing it.
What's that comparison? Like, do you want Luis Arias or Kyle Schwarber? Like, is that kind
Kind
of
of. I mean,
yeah?
but and then here's the thing: I would take Luis Arias because Schwarber gets on base a ton. The dude doesn't run bad,
Right.
but again, he's not gonna friggin' turn a ball, down the line necessarily into scoring a run.
Right.
I mean,
Coach, I don't like when my thises or that's just get criticized. And
I'm not
Yeah, you're open
I
criticizing
to
feel
it.
him.
like I feel like right now you're truly going against everything I have. So let's just keep going. See what else you have to say about my this or that. But I'm just fucking with you, by the way. Okay, for this or that, Mad Bum or Brandon Crawford?
Ooh man.
It depends.
Uh I'm gonna take, as much as I'm an offensive and defensive guy, I gotta take Bumgarner. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
they're both. You take one of them away, you're not gonna get it. But you look at what Bumgarner did, and I can't even remember which year it was. I mean, but you look at
12.
that year when I think it was 2012 with the 14 when
14.
when he pulled the Dixon in the CIF and was pitching in like every game and coming out of the bullpen and so I would take him.
It was 2014, and the only reason I know that is because the Dodgers were actually suspected to go to the World Series and win that year. But it was 2014 against the Royals, and Mad Bum was coming out for like his fourth relief appearance that
Oh yeah,
World, and he had already started like two games. And I just wanted to like grab Kershaw by the collar and put him up against my TV and be like, just do that, man. Like
right.
it was just never happening for us. But I love that you chose Mad Bum. That's what I would have chosen as well. But I'm a pitcher. I crave the pitcher, so. Okay, I already know, and this is gonna make me mad again, but hear me out. Hitting for the cycle and your team wins, or hit a walk-off home run. Obviously, if you hit a walk-off, your team wins. If I didn't
Oh
add
man,
the
I'd say
part,
okay. Since we're taking all things even, being that your team wins, I would take hitting for the cycle. I
thank
mean,
you.
it freaking doesn't happen. Like it doesn't. That I mean, look at Arnold High School, we got two kids that are both going to go to Florida and or get drafted, and they're both pitchers. And I mean, they threw in the opening round of the playoffs in the regionals, which would be like the way they do it here. The first three rounds are regional playoffs, so it would be like if they put everybody from the Inland Empire together, you know what I mean? And you only played those guys and then moved on. And
Yeah,
they threw back to back no hitters. And I'm like 99% sure one of them actually, no, I think they're both short of a perfect game, but they threw back to back no hitters. And these are guys that they're going to both get drafted and they're going,
Impressive.
both going to Florida. They had never thrown a no hitter, and so it's kind of like that. Like all things considered, if we're going to win both games, I would take the cycle because that's a special moment for an
Yeah.
organization or a team and that person.
Yeah. They'll remember that forever.
question: would it change if it was hitting for the cycle and you win the game, or walk-off grand slam where you're down by 3 runs?
Ooh, probably.
That one, yeah, that one sounds cooler.
You know what I mean?
I
Like
mean, honestly, probably. I mean, I remember in 2000, I want to say it was 11, I think. We had a walk. We were down by 7 to San Jacinto. And literally in the last inning, and we hit a walk off to hit the parking lot, like up in left center, hit the parking lot by Johnny Armenta, who was our shortstop. And like, friggin' that was electrifying. So I would say probably I would take a walk-off grand slam or like something like that. I mean, let's be honest, it's super rare. You hit a ball out to win a game, and that's friggin' super rare too.
yeah. Okay, I like that. I think that's what I would have went with too. All right. Next, this or that. We got Wrigley or Fenway.
Wrigley or Fenway? I would take Fenway.
Okay, I would say the same.
I
I
agree.
think, and I think that the field itself has a lot to do with it. I think it is. I mean, they're both unique in their own right, but I also think that even though they both had the curse or whatever, there's just more history with Boston, and you have New York, and you have that rivalry. Like, I mean, I get the Cubs and the Cardinals are supposed to be a rivalry, but that's like
It's one-sided.
it's been one sided a lot, and it's not as
Yeah.
big of a rivalry as Boston and New York. So I would take Fenway.
I argue this, and not that I don't agree with you. I also choose Fenway over Wrigley, but I think Wrigley, obviously, it's historic. It always will be. I feel like Wrigley sometimes loses its aura, mainly because it doesn't have a lot of those night game history. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? Like a night game dictates a game very much, in my opinion. And with Wrigley not getting lights put in until way late, after it being built, I feel like that kind of takes away, because day games, I don't know. Maybe I could be wrong on this, but
No,
there's so
you're
much.
right. But I
Yeah,
mean, I think there's also the fact, like, you look at Wrigley and you think about the ivy. Well, people don't talk about like I don't even know if the ivy's on the wall at this point. You know
It's
what I
dead right
mean?
now.
So
Yeah, it's dead.
it's just different. And then you even go back to like before the Red Sox broke the curse, there was a ton of time when you guys were young, like super young, where they were in the playoffs every year. They just friggin' couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree as well. All right, my last one, and this one I feel like this one changes yearly for me. One year I'll prefer this one year I'll prefer the other, but I want to see where you stand. This or that, Major League or Bull Durham?
I would say Bull Durham.
Yeah.
I think it's
Have
just
to.
Major League is like it's a comedy about baseball.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that happens in it that people like we still quote, you quote today, but for the most part it's a comedy about baseball. But
Yeah.
you guys have been around the game long enough and played enough of the game where you can watch Bull Durham and go, that kind of happened where I was at. Maybe not the same level, but there's more to it that's more about what baseball that happens in the game of baseball, to make it a better movie than Major League if I had to pick one.
I think with Bull Durham, anyone that doesn't play baseball, that's kind of like, what's playing baseball like? I'll be like, watch Bull Durham and
Watch Bull Durham.
watch the mound visits when the catcher
Right.
Yeah.
goes
Oh
to
yeah.
his pitcher, or when the infield comes together. That's baseball. Like that,
Hey,
all the boys talking. It's like I can't hit for shit, and it's all like everyone's just losing their mind. That's baseball, in my opinion. Like
hey, Butler, do you remember when we were playing freaking? This was Morales' senior year when he had become our closer, and I believe you were on the mound again, and we were up at Beaumont, and no, or maybe you're DH. I can't remember, but Prickett pulled that thing where he disappeared out of the dugout and put Morales in for the save. And
I
I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, Dixon, all of a sudden, like behind my right ear, I just hear this. Do you have a bad feeling right now? It's freaking Butler, like right in my ear, and I'm like, yeah, I do. Because it
I
was
I
what's his
kept it
name?
real, bro.
It was
I kept it
what's his
real.
name that you guys were friends with, the first baseman or something like that for Beaumont. That
Perkins,
friggin' huh?
Perkins.
Yes. And
Dustin
I
Perkins.
just didn't like the matchup because freaking Morales hung one of those pitches. That dude was gonna hit it into the creek. And I just remember hearing this behind me. Do you have a bad feeling right now?
Yeah. I didn't have the best feel for game situations.
I
uh,
just remember I literally no, freaking yeah. So I just remember standing there, and I don't even remember. I don't know if Butler, if it was you on the mound. I don't remember who was on the mound, but I remember turning around to go talk to, like, looking to say something to Prickett, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Where's Prickett?" And I look up, dude is already halfway to the mound with Morales' glove, and he was not going to give me an opportunity to talk him out of it.
oh my gosh, Prickett's hilarious. Prickett really was kind of like the settler of all things during
Oh yeah,
those years.
He never fired because he never. I remember like Prickett never cussed, like not
it's
once. Do you remember when he got hit in the leg during
oh yeah.
batting practice and was like, "Gosh darn it, like dang it," and I was like, "Dude, you just got beamed in the leg. Like it's okay, cuss." Like I never heard it. And then he came out at Wilson
Wilson,
with
yeah.
like first and second, whenever it goes out, he's like, "This is your fucking game," and I was like, "This is my game."
I
Like,
remember seeing you guys on the mound. I'm like, Prickett just cussed.
yeah.
You and Farmer's eyes got so big.
Dude,
Oh
that fired me
man,
up
no,
so
yeah.
much.
I remember one time, and I can't remember the dude's name, but we had an umpire that I did not like. And dude, we were winning the game, and he did something, and I went to yell at him, and Prickett literally hits me in the chest, and he's like, "Just stop, just leave him alone."
Where was he in West Valley, dude?
Yeah.
When you get ejected 4 pitches in?
I think that was three. No, it was like four or
Yeah,
five. Yeah, no, it was like four or five. All I wanted to do was see, and you boxed. Like it was a box. Like all I
I did
wanted to
box.
see,
Yeah,
all I wanted to do is see where you step.
yeah.
That was
Yeah, it was
funny.
a bomb.
Everybody's convinced I did it on purpose. I'm like, I didn't do it on purpose.
I
Just toss
forgot.
one.
I forgot what game. Real quick, Dickie. Sorry to interrupt you, but I forgot what game. Something happened to where it was. It was honestly like a serial killer was talking to like it was talking because Savage dropped like his little clipboard and he goes, "If that call gets reversed, I'm getting thrown out of this ball game." And the way he said it was so monotone, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" He just set down the clipboard. If that call gets reversed, Prickett, I am getting thrown out of this game. Sure enough, coach, come out. You're like, "That is bullshit," and you just like,
Yeah.
oh.
I actually probably could sit and remember it. If I had to remember, I could probably
Oh,
freaking remember it.
if I could give you a year and like a month time frame, I bet you could. But it was like a serial killer. You just set everything down. You like do what you do. You got your pen out of your hat, all that. You're like, Prickett, if that call gets reversed, I am getting thrown out of this game. And I'm just like, oh shit, please reverse it. And sure enough, they did. And you lost it. Oh, that's
Oh
awesome.
man.
Savage, well, we appreciate you hopping on. We'll let you get back to the rest of your weekend. I'd love to have you back on here at some point if you got the time
Dude,
for
you
it.
guys want to have me back on anytime. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Let's
we'd love to
go.
have you.
That's perfect. We need like a guest that we can always bring in every like other month or something. That's like, hey, we need someone. So, coach, you might
Oh,
be the filler.
I'll definitely. You need to bring me in. Like, that's fine. You know that the three of us could friggin'
Yeah,
get hours of content because
yeah, absolutely.
in the 4 years that we've spent together, we have not even touched the freaking surface of what could
Yeah,
be discussed. So,
yeah. I'm looking at
um,
questions and I'm like, I can't wait to get to these.
hey, I'm telling you guys this though, like I could not be prouder of what you guys have done. Like everything you've done, I'm super proud of you, and I miss you guys, and I've enjoyed talking to you. But just know that, I've always been proud of the job you did, and you guys will always have a special place in my heart, and I will always be there for you guys.
I appreciate you. You're the greatest coach I've ever had. So
Appreciate
Appreciate
that.
Seriously, that's awesome. I real quick before we head out, I feel like a lot of times at Talkwits, people would talk about you, but they would ask questions to me, Dixon, Clayton, Caleb about you. Is he really as mean as he looks? Is he always yelling at you guys? And I would always have to like tell these people like, do you guys realize that like when it comes to like adult figures or just adult authority, that dude loves me way more than all these teachers like care
yeah,
about you guys. So I was like, you guys should be the one worried about not having someone in your corner like I got my coach in my corner. So just know it's all the same. We love you and we appreciate you, coach. Seriously.
All right, appreciate it. Anytime
all
you
right.
want me to hop on, I'm down.
Woo! Sounds good.
Love that. All
All
right,
right.
coach, have a good one.
All right, see you guys.